Did you know that America is the only developed nation in which there is no law-mandated vacation time? Americans often fear taking time off of their work because they don't want to look irrelevant, they don't want to appear lazy, and they don't want to lose their jobs. The American work culture is increasingly moving towards a belief that more work hours equals more productivity. Well, in this speech, I'm going to show that that correlation might not actually exist or be as strong as you initially thought it was, and that by having law-mandated vacation time in America, Americans will be happier in general, and there might be unexpected positive consequences for the economy itself. First, more work hours don't pay off. A 2012 article written in the journal Foreign Policy talked about how even though the average Canadian citizen worked 85 hours less each year, that's 2 full weeks less each year than the average US citizen, the average Canadian citizen still has a higher net worth than the average US citizen. The second example that the article gave was that, and this is of course back when the article was written in 2012, Germans worked 30% less than the average Greek citizen. And even though that was true, German GDP per hour was $55, while Greek GDP per hour was only $34. What would account for this? Well, obviously not the number of hours spent at the workplace, but the fact that German production methods were so much more efficient than the way that Greeks were using their time. A 2015 article written in the New York Times followed elite professionals working in the service industry, in which workaholism was celebrated as a virtue, and where 80 to 90-hour weeks were expected. Upon interviewing many of these professionals, the New York Times found that rather than actually getting more done and being more productive in their jobs, many of these professionals were simply finding ways to look as though they were achieving more and being busy, while in reality they really weren't. So in conclusion, even though employers think that face time equals productivity, the correlation may not actually be there. Second, more work hours negatively affect the workforce. The Wisconsin Medical Journal did a study in 1996 to 2001 in which they followed 1,500 women living in rural Wisconsin. They wanted to see if there was a correlation between rates of depression and tension in their lives and how many vacation days these women took off each year. And the study did in fact find that women who took more vacation days off reported lower rates of depression and tension in their lives, as well as better relationships with their spouses. In 2006, the Harvard Business Review did a survey of its readers, in which 69% said that they thought that they would be healthier if they worked less. 58% said that the amount of hours that they worked negatively affected their social lives. 46% believed that their work negatively affected their relationships with their spouses. And 50% said that the amount that they work negatively affects their sex lives. In conclusion, work life is becoming more of a choice and less of a balance. Sacrifice of our social lives and our relationships is becoming much more common in the American work culture. Third, more work hours set a destructive trend. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics conducted a survey in which it found a steady decline of vacation taken over the last 35 years. Between 1976 and 2000, the average number of vacation days taken off each year was 20.3, but in 2013, the average was just 16 days, which is a 20% decrease. In order to return back to the levels that they were at 1976, it would still take decades to reverse this trend. Slate magazine reported in 2014 that Americans work longer hours, weekends, and nights than the majority of Europe. In other words, the farther down this road that America goes, the more inertia that we have with the culture thinking that more work hours equals more productivity, the more that Americans are going to be expected to work longer hours, nights, more weekends, sacrifice their personal lives. It's sort of like steering a cargo ship, where in order to turn the cargo ship around, it's not going to be a right angle turn. It's going to take a very long time in order to turn the cultural belief around that work hours equals productivity. Many Americans fear becoming irrelevant in their workplaces and losing their jobs. Ask yourself, how would life change if America adopted a law-mandated vacation? Things that you can do to support America adopting law-mandated vacation times is you can vote silently by only taking jobs in which the work culture does not promote workaholism, but instead promotes a healthy balance of work and life. You can also actually vote for any bills that might come up in which the amount of vacation days that Americans get each year is extended with the power of the law. To summarize, we need to increase the number of mandatory vacation days in the United States. First, more work hours do not pay off. Secondly, more work hours negatively affects the workforce. And third, more work hours sets a destructive trend. Thank you for listening.